Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the Next Generation Hospitality event by Agilysys. My name is Thor Hansen. I'm the Senior Director of Sales Engineering. I want to take you through today's session on operational tools, the ability for us to utilize the technology stack by Agilysys to help back of the house operations. In front of you, in this screenshot here, you'll see the Agilysys Next Generation of Hospitality suite of products. This is anchored by the food and beverage world-class product, Agilysys. Agilysys recently went through a modernization that allows for us to utilize both iOS and Android. It is tightly integrated into the hospitality and leisure anchors, which is our three distinct property management systems, LMS, Stay, and Visual One. Additionally, it also integrates tightly into the sales and catering module that was recently released as well. So imagine having a BEO and having the Agilysys and then automatically posting that. iOS and Android.
I'm sorry to jump in here. Daniel, can you please mute Attendee Hub?
Which is our three distinct. Right. Thanks. All right. But for today's session, next screen, Daniel, we're going to focus on our other core products that anchor the Agilysys suite of products. We're going to go over first the document management product called Data Imagine, which allows for you to manage all your documents. It also does special workflows for business use cases. And then we're going to then move on to inventory procurement. And we have two distinct products. Stratton Warren allows for us to manage some of the largest casinos in the world for their inventory and procurement, whereas eTech also does inventory procurement, but for both resorts as well as higher ed. It is also foundationally found in a lot of universities and colleges. Then we're going to follow that up with our guest service. That is a service optimization engine that allows for you to manage the core products, whether it be a welcome message, whether it be for housekeeping or preventative maintenance. Okay. With that, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Daniel Griswold, who is a Data Imagine product manager. Take it away, Daniel.
Thank you, Thor. My name is Daniel Griswold, product manager for Data Imagine. I would like to also welcome everyone to today's Next Gen session and today I'm going to talk about Data Imagine and how it can assist you in going paperless in the back of house with your back of house operations. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Data Imagine, Data Imagine is a document management solution. It's no different than any of the other products. It's owned and developed by Agilysys. We do have full-time support for the product. And it's our, with the suite of products that we have, it assists you with going paperless in many areas of your business. So these are just some of the areas we're going to, quickly talk about today. Front desk. Being able to go paperless at the front desk has a lot of advantages of streamlining check-in processes with our electronic signature capturing driver's licenses and passports, just for, proof of identity and have it there for security. Automating the archival of night audit reports. How many times do you go look for a report and maybe it was from last week or the week before, but you can't find it? Well, with Data Imagine, we'll have everything archived so you can easily, search and find those reports. And again, it's integrated with our, PMS products, Visual One and LMS. So that way you can easily take advantage of going paperless there. We're going to talk a little bit more about our purchasing and accounts payable integration. But basically we help streamline all those operations in your finance department. Along with human resources. There's a lot of paper that's generated in human resources, whether it's employee records, employee benefits, all these forms that, people have to fill out, whether it's disciplinary action forms, vacation requests. Wouldn't it be nice to have all those kind of centralized in one location where Data Imagine can kind of facilitate, sending out forms to be filled out or, just archiving and making sure the security behind those documents are intact. It's very, important that not only do we have a way of archiving these documents, but also maintaining the security, encryption, and everything that's required to make sure that PII information is secured. We can also do things in the casino, being able to capture photo IDs, credit applications, and have things more electronic rather than paper-based, having people fill out forms online so that way they don't have to bring paper or lose paper as they're coming into the casino, but just easy ways for us to be able to capture and store these documents, whether they're coming from reports that are being generated from the casino systems or things that you scan or electronically capture. We have the ability to archive contracts and have ways of managing their expiration dates. So if a contract's getting ready to expire, we can notify individuals or even route those contracts so they can be approved to either renew, or if you want to reject and send a cancellation letter. All those things utilizing specific tools within the DataMagine suite can help facilitate those operations. Now, when we talk about purchase to pay, it can mean many things to many individuals. First of all, we have a very tight integration with our own products, Stratton Warren and eTech, to be able to capture many of these documents that are being generated or things that just need to be attached to those transactions. For example, I have a requisition where I have maybe a bid or a quote that I received from a vendor that I want to attach to those transactions. Very easily with a click of the button or pressing a function key on your keyboard to be able to attach those documents and then be able to view them at any point in time. So as an approver, you would have all the information you need to properly approve those documents. Capturing the reports that are being generated. With Stratton Warren, there's a lot of reports that typically would be printed. We're going to capture those electronically and archive them automatically, so there's no paper needing to be generated. Tying all these documents together. You have requisitions, you have POs, you have receiving documents, you have invoices, you have variance approvals, you have even the AP check. At the end of the day, we want to be able to key in specific index values like vendor number, invoice number, purchase order number, things like that, and be able to retrieve all these documents at the same time. You're not having to go to different buckets to find things, or purchasing has their documents, but accounts payable hasn't received them yet and doesn't know that they even exist. We have ways of tying all that information together very seamlessly. Think about your docs where you're receiving merchandise and all the paper that's received there. Wouldn't it be nice, because all that information has to get to accounting at some point for them to be able to properly pay the invoice. So we have a integration with Stratton Warren where the receivers actually print barcodes on them, which has the receiver number and PO number. And then you just take the rest of the documents in relation to that merchandise that was received, you scan it in and it automatically reads the barcodes and routes them to accounting so they can then properly make decisions if they can go ahead and pay it, or if it needs to be in a hold status until the invoice has arrived. We have a new module called eForms, which again, I'll talk a little bit more in a future slide, but just the ability to take any paper forms or anything that you would have a manual process and convert them into an electronic form where then they can be routed for approvals. Again, we'll talk more about that here in a second. And then also being able to take non-PO invoices or any other documents and route them for approval. Whether that's human resources, in the casino, or in accounting, being able to take those documents and with key fields, be able to route them to the proper decision makers to either approve, make notes, or even reject those documents as they're being routed for approval. Now, here's some examples of some of the screenshots within the new web UI for Stratton Warren, where you have a little paper clip where you can click and you can attach documents and retrieve documents. So a very easy and seamless way of being able to provide this, going paperless to your users. You can also still use the green screen version of Stratton Warren. We just have to use a function key because there's really no buttons to be able to be pressed. But the same functionality. I hit a function key, I choose the document type that I want to archive, and then attach the document, and it's done. That way, the next person who goes into that transaction has an easy way of reviewing those documents. Same thing with eTech. Same integration points, just may look a little bit different, but just the ability to click buttons and be able to attach documents to those transactions very seamlessly and easily. That way, you're not having to keep paper copies in filing cabinets, and then it needs to go to the next person making photocopies. Everything is at the fingertips when you're within our products.
Hey, Daniel, quick question for you on the subject of Web UI.
Yep.
Two questions that came in. Does the new DataMagine Web UI support any browser?
Yes, today DataMagine has its own web UI, and we're able to support Google Chrome, Firefox, Edge, which with our legacy product was primarily just a Windows-based application and we didn't have the ability to use other browsers. But with our new web UI, just like all of the Agilysys products, we're able to now support multiple browsers.
And then the second question as a follow-up to that is, does the new DataMagine Web UI work with our existing DataMagine DataMagine environment?
Very good question. Yes, so if you currently have DataMagine today and you're using what we call our legacy desktop client, you can add on the web UI and they work in tandem. So there's no, sunsetting or having to, quickly, migrate over as fast as possible. You can use both systems simultaneously and be able to do, the functionality within both until you feel comfortable and can gradually move users over to the new web UI. So DataMagine has a new module called eForms. This module, again, is part of our new web UI version 12.3. And it just allows you to take anything that you would typically manually fill out a piece of paper or have some other means where, for example, like AP check requests. Many of our customers use a spreadsheet. They fill out the spreadsheet, they attach it in an email, and then it's got to bounce around the organization, getting everybody to kind of put their approval within the email. Well, when it's in that approval process, no one knows where that document is, or they're having to email everybody, hey, who has it now? With our eForms, you can have the ability to fill out the information via an eForm, and when you click submit, you can send it into our workflow, which then can track where that job is in its approval process. You can add attachments to these eForms. So if you have the eForm and you have backup documentation you want to add for support, you can do so. It has a wide range of fields, numeric fields, alphanumeric fields, date pickers, drop-down menus, checkboxes. So pretty much any type of form can be designed, and the information that is filled out can be used to either index that form, or that form can be, the indexes can be used to route that form. So the fields that are being entered are used to know where this document needs to go for approvals. It also has electronic signature capture. So if you want to present this to a guest or to an employee on an iPad, they can fill out the information, use their finger and sign, and then we have a signed copy stored in DataMagine. Basically, when the form is submitted, we convert it into a PDF and it automatically gets processed or archived depending on what the solution has been designed for. And then lastly, just talk a little bit about our new web UI, because many of you may not be familiar with this. This has been a project, just like many of our Agilysys products, that we've been modernizing everything over the past year. Again, Thor, the question asked was, does it support multiple browsers? So now you can run this on a Macintosh, you can run this on an Android device, an iPad, it doesn't matter, as long as the browser can get to our system, we're able to utilize that. It's built on a suite of RESTful services. So this makes it very easy for our own internal Agilysys products to integrate with DataMagine, but it also allows you as a customer to very easily integrate with DataMagine as well. Maybe you want to archive documents or submit things through third-party systems to get the information into DataMagine. You could just easily use our RESTful services as well. The client side of the web UI is completely done. So that can take away the old legacy product running on a desktop that your users are utilizing today. The admin portion, we're expecting to be finished next month. That way you can have the full suite of DataMagine fully modernized and basically a web UI for utilizing the product as well as administering it. Now that, once we get the admin functionality totally completed, our next goal would be is we want to get DataMagine cloud and SaaS available. So that way, if you don't want to support it on-prem, you'll be able to migrate it to the cloud. We'll have a migration utility to do so. Or for those new customers that want to just go straight to the cloud, we'll have that ability as well. Our goal is the end of this year, first of next year, to have that available as well. So that pretty much covers the DataMagine side. Right now, I'm going to pass it over to Paul Amodio, who's going to cover how the operational tools with eTech can be utilized.
Thank you, Daniel. Great presentation. And welcome, everyone. I'm Paul Amodio, and I'm here today to talk to you about one of our inventory systems, eTech. And how I wanted to start off here is I'll start by saying that eTech is one of our 2 inventory systems that's been in the industry, managing casinos, resorts, theme parks, and restaurants for over 30 years. eTech is primarily Microsoft Windows SQL Server based for its life cycle and now has been modernized to use a web browser with real-time APIs and integrations. This is a comprehensive yet easy to use system that's also mobile capable. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the high-level modules and speak about some of the capabilities. So first of all, you have recipe and menu management, which involves production, nutrition integration, HACCP, which is abbreviated as Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. So basically safety standards, food safety standards is able to be integrated into eTech. There's menu cycle planning as well. Another module, purchase and receiving. So basically eTech is a weighted average cost system that goes by outlet level, where updating the cost for your items in your inventory is inclusive of the purchases you do, the requisitions, the transfers, and it's all kept and performed from within the product that this is managed. Similar to some things that Daniel said, we have click to approve layers that are set up in eTech, which basically can be configured within your site or via like email, having a click to approve sent through email layers for approvals. So even you can have this available when you're not on your company VPN, or if you're not within your network, it's a smooth interface for you to have those approval layers in place. There's also a smooth interface for your receipt of goods, which involves the ability to confirm quantities or the amount received when transferring your inventory into your outlets. There's also purchase order management. An example of that would be the ability to split POs by vendors or combine requisitions or consolidate POs for that matter. And as we move on towards the inventory modules, there's primarily F&B and retail. Now, F&B involves everything I've mentioned about recipe and menu management. And then you have the retail module, which basically incorporates a little bit additional things for items such as like descriptors, UPC tags, the ability to track by size, color of items, typical things you wouldn't see on food type inventory items. Then you have reporting. There's a complete reporting module in eTech. It comes with over, I think, 400 standard reports within the product. You can run real-time reports. You have the ability to export reports in just about any format, primarily like PDF, Excel type formats. And there's also an ad hoc tool within eTech that allows you to create what I like to call my reports. eTech can be used as an inter-site enterprise solution, meaning that you can have several locations spread out, say in different physical locations, allowing for uniform reporting for a single enterprise. Or for a multi-site centralized database, eTech is great for that purpose. And note, there's many EDI or electronic data interfaces that are supported and allows for less manual intervention and human errors. An example of this would be I'm inputting an inventory item and maybe I forgot I did it and I'm doing manual double entry. eTech can see these types of things. And when you're using electronic interfaces, it eliminates a lot of that error. And speaking of interfaces, I've mentioned that eTech has been in the industry for quite some time, a little over 30 years experience. So the integration with countless point of sale systems and accounting systems is very strong. And of course, eTech has a very rich direct integration to our own InfoGenesis point of sale. And then as far as the deployment models, eTech can be deployed in a self-hosted or a cloud-based module methodology. But the thing to remember when you deploy it, whether you go hosted or you're on premise, there's the exact same feature set functionality contained within the product. And speaking of Agilysys eTech Web, essentially it's been modernized. It's able to run into a browser. And just like Daniel said, how DataMagine can run in any browser, it's the same with eTech Web. No matter what device or what browser you're using, you're able to run eTech Web. All you basically need is internet capability. And you have the ability when you're using it, for a user sign-on that gives you permissions. Maybe you're only able to access a single site or multi-site. So there's a complete backend for permissions to manage the product. You have great things like predictive search lookup. So you could use either barcodes, Boolean search, item name, product code, PLU, in order to look up your items, which makes very easy to manage your inventory. There's no hefty downloads. So you don't have to worry about downloading an app or installing anything on your computer. You can basically keep everything contactless, run it from a browser. And on that same note, eTech has eTech Mobile, which has all the great features that are packed into eTech Web, but the ability to run it from a mobile device. So if I wanted to use, say, my iPhone or a Samsung device, you have the ability to do this. If I wanted to scan inventory in and do it from a mobile phone, I'm able to do this if I choose. There's document approval, so that gives you the ability to set up approval workflows for purchasing, requisition, and transfer from, say, a mobile phone. And that can be as simple or for a complex type setup. An example of those rules would be if there's a higher personnel that needs to approve a purchase order, but yet they're out of office, we can have a setting in eTech to auto bump it and go to the next level, or maybe there's a 2-tier stage that needs to be followed in order to approve. And then eTech is designed to run offline. So given the ability for it to run offline, there is a small local download of the database that's stored on each and every device. And therefore, that makes the ability to see item names, descriptions, pictures, so you're still able to manage your inventory while the product is running offline. So to reiterate, Agilysys eTech is very focused on integrations. And ultimately, that reduces the user data input that they have to do for automating processes and getting automatic results. An example of this will be here, where you see in the lower right, we have digital dining integration, which basically gives the ability to load unique menu item, menu-based information into eTech and control menu boards. Or within our own Agilysys F&B product suite, Infogenisis has its own digital menu boards, and eTech can integrate with that as well. So you can generate your own menus and keep the configuration all within a seamless Agilysys product portfolio. So again, it's with more direct real-time integration with Infogenisis point of sale. It doesn't involve file imports or exports like some of the third parties do. But we also integrate with other third parties like who do menu boards or allergen information you want to post, like a third party called NutriSlice, for example. So to sum some of this up, thinking of eTech and streamlining your inventory and procurement, I think of centralized management, which offers improved accountability by maintaining information integrity through just a single database. And overall, this will lower your system management costs for staff and your TCO, the total cost of ownership of eTech. Then you have centralized procurement, which increases your bargaining power. So your procurement and F&B teams can increase its purchasing power through consolidated purchasing, which translates into improved profitability for your organization. There's real-time information for proactive management within eTech. So there's no need for end-of-day polling. It provides management with tools to react very quickly and allows your finance teams to close faster, especially with those EDI interfaces. And then there's consolidated reporting, which provides information for comparisons and insights into various operations, and the ability to report upon third-party operations as well. eTech is essentially broken down to 3 editions, and it's based on the size of your operation. So whether you're a small, medium, large, mom and pop, or like a multi-enterprise, there's an inventory solution to cover all of your operational needs. Here you see we offer the 3 editions as standard, professional, and enterprise. And these editions are highly scalable. And that means where you can transition, say if you start out as a standard user and you're one single site and you choose to grow and expand, it's as simple as acquiring an updated license and you can upgrade, say, or move from a standard to a professional edition. So hopefully that sums up a little bit about Agilysys eTech and meets the needs of your inventory and procurement needs for your operations. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Joe Ferguson for our SWS introduction.
Thank you, Paul. That's a great presentation and overview of eTech. And hello, everyone. My name is Joe Ferguson, and I will be taking you through the remainder of our presentation with Stratton Warren as well as our guest service. So Stratton Warren, like our eTech solution, has a lot of similarities in providing the operational efficiencies that Paul outlined. So having said that, I don't believe there's need to repeat a lot of the common elements, but we'll also point out the fact that Stratton Warren tends to live, and it's very popular in the gaming space, where that combined purchasing power is of top priority, as well as managing the inventory and assets across the corporate entity, companies, divisions, and departments. Because of that inherent structure of Stratton Warren and being able to manage large corporate entities that may have multiple companies, that may have multiple divisions, may have multiple divisions or departments, Stratton Warren can be that single inventory procurement solution to manage a large corporation. So as mentioned within eTech, as well as Stratton Warren, the concept of inventory management or item management is very dynamic, meaning that you can decide as a business as far as what item can live within any of the layers of structures that was outlined. Again, from a corporate, company, division, and department. So multi-location support is naturally inherent with the system. You get it by virtue of having Stratton Warren or eTech. Purchasing and procurement and order receiving and the respective workflows that may go into the process of approvals. Those are also very similar traits within Stratton Warren and eTech, as well as recipe management and cookbook, which are other additional modules within Stratton Warren. And like the general theme of all of our solutions here at Agilysys with our next generation hospitality solutions, we have now modernized Stratton Warren into be a browser-based client. So this means that you can deploy Stratton Warren either on-premise or through the cloud. And for those that may not be familiar with Stratton Warren, it is an IBM-based platform application. So what this means for our existing users, they can adopt Stratton Warren Web UI and still be in tandem with green screen. And the user can simply decide if they want to use our new Web UI or stay with the green screen. And like eTech, Stratton Warren has long years of experience in the industry, and it has a lot of interfaces for both EDI and Punchout. So here's a look at the new Stratton Warren Web UI client. And through this demonstration, we will go through the requisition process of Stratton Warren, as well as Punchout, and we'll give you a glimpse of some of the new functions that we built into the reporting portion of the application. So we'll walk through the concept of requisition. For those that may not be familiar with it, this is an inter-department request for a piece of inventory or purchase. And Stratton Warren's going to make that decision for you based off of if it has quantities on hand in inventory, or if it's absent of quantities on hand, what's on the requisition, it will make that purchase request as its automatic workflow. So here the user is going through the requisition portion or the requisition entry. And you can see here that the little plus icon is very simple user navigation, where the user just enters the requisition entry, where now they're going to look for the items that are on the requisition request. And again, the plus sign is cueing the user to look for those particular items. Here's the search screen where the user can look for the items at hand. In this case, we're using wine as an example. So once a user finds their wine, you can see that it's been classified between red and white. And then from there, they can expand on what type of varietal or wine type that they're requesting on this requisition. And you can see from a user standpoint, it's very simple to understand and also make the selections within the master menu items that they have the privilege or permission to access and request. So the user is now going to say, we're going to add the proper quantities for the request of these white wines, Chardonnay and Riesling. And upon saving the submission or the requisition request, Stratton Warren is going to check on the back end to see if those items exist in our central warehouse or where the centralized inventory is being kept within the enterprise and or company or division. And then it's going to either issue that requisition from an inventory transfer, or it's going to make a purchase request transfer, or it can make both, depending on if there was partial items left in inventory, and then the remainder needs to be fulfilled by a purchase request. Next, we will go through Stratton Warren punch out, which is similar to the requisition process that we went through, but this will add a little caveat of accessing the supplier marketplace in itself. And the punch out interface will actually allow the user to go directly into that supplier's marketplace and add the items back into Stratton Warren as if we did the requisition process. Let me show you what that means. So like we did before, we'll start from a requisition flow. And instead of pushing the plus icon on the bottom left-hand corner like I did last time, on the top right corner, we have this icon of a cart. The cart represents the punch out companies that have been interfaced with Stratton Warren. So as you can see, I have a multitude of Stratton Warren punch outs that I have available to me as a user, and we'll use Amazon as an example. So as the user accesses Amazon via punch out, they can go through and shop through Amazon just like they would do if they were at home. And the respective items in Amazon are mapped to our Stratton Warren menu master by virtue of the interface. And what this allows the user to do is have a very seamless shopping flow when they're going through the requisition process. So as you can see in this example, I've added paper and pen in my requisition. And the icon that represents the cart in Amazon says submit these items for approval. So once I submit the items for approval, it brings those items back from Amazon in this case. And now it's left, all I have to do is submit the request, just as I did with my normal requisition from a non-punch out standpoint. So as I save this particular purchase request or requisition request via punch out, Stratton Warren recognizes that it doesn't have any of these items that's transferable from the inventory or warehouse. So it's now going to make a purchase requisition request, and it's going to follow the workflow that you have in Stratton Warren as to who's going to click to approve this purchase request. Next, we will look at the dashboard and the reporting structure of Stratton Warren and how it's elevated with the web UI. Here you can see that this is the Stratton Warren reports menu. And unlike the green screen version of Stratton Warren, the reports menu, it has been improved for the quality of life for the user, where they're able to access the reports in a much faster pace and less click-throughs. And they can see the reports directly either on their client, or they can export them out to their desired output, such as PDF or CSV. In this demonstration, we're going to show you the new features of dashboards that have been incorporated in the web UI. And these dashboards will give you an inventory or glance of your inventory at hand from inventory on hand standpoint, or also from a purchasing standpoint. So we will look at purchasing at a glance in this demonstration. So upon accessing or clicking on the icons that was highlighted in the previous screenshot, what Stratton Warren will first layer of data is going to be the company under the corporation. So you may have multiple companies under a corporation. In this case, we have one in this example. And so as I drill down into the company by a simple click, it's now going to take me to the divisions that live in that company. So in this case, we're looking at this from a purchasing standpoint. So the data representation is, here's your corporation, here's your company, and now let's look at the divisions in which we're making these purchase data. So we will now look at the food and beverage division. Excuse me. the food and beverage division of the organization. And as we drill down, you can see here that on the on Stratton Warren, you have 3 layers deep as we're building this information or this dashboard on the fly. So next we'll go into the department. And from the department, we're now 4 layers deep, and you can see the data representation of those respective categories. And we will now look at a certain purveyor, such as Horizon Wine and Spirits, and see how much we have been purchasing with them. So you can see that from this view, we started from the corporation, company, division, and the department. And now we're looking at within that department, looks like we have purchased about $260 more month to date or year to date than comparable last year for Horizon Wine and Spirits. And that concludes the demonstration of our Stratton Warren. We hope that you found some new information and also some thought-provoking ideas as we went through this demonstration. We'll be happy to go into more detail in a private setting, and please feel free to talk to your Agilysys rep, and we'll be happy to schedule that meeting with you. Next, we will talk about and end our demonstration and presentation with our service optimization engine called Our Guest Service. So what is Our Guest Service? Our Guest Service, like our theme here for our next-gen hospitality solutions, is also cloud and browser-based. Essentially what Our Guest Service does is it allows you to program your business rules and workflows to optimize the fulfillment of service and tasks. Those service and tasks could be guest-oriented, or they could just be operational tasks such as maintenance and preventative maintenance. What Our Guest Service also includes is a two-way texting gateway, where it allows you to communicate with your guests to elevate your guest experience from a digital standpoint, but also take the guest dialogue and apply them into a service fulfillment request. So as mentioned, Our Guest Service is a service optimization engine. So when we're talking about tasks and services, those are going to be contextual to your operation. But if you're a lodging operation, the most common tasks that can be or that often have the most room for optimization are going to be housekeeping as well as maintenance. But you can also incorporate valet, you can incorporate bell, you can even incorporate food and beverage. The beauty of Our Guest Service is that it is so flexible and so dynamic in how you're able to configure the system. And again, the core concept here is to maximize your operations efficiency. And therefore, another way of saying it is to get the most out of your labor of your operation. So how do we do that? Well, the communication is vital in improving efficiency. So the end user of the operation will have a mobile device, whether it be a smartphone or an iPod Touch. And through that mobile device, they're going to be interacting with service requests, communication requests, so you can communicate internally as well as with your guests, or create a service request amongst your colleagues and peers. So you're able to fulfill all these scenarios by virtue of Our Guest Service, and we'll be happy to go into more deeper details. Again, in a private setting where you can request some information with your Agilysys service rep or sales rep.
Hey, Joe, we have a question.
Yeah.
Does service work with LMS?
It certainly does. So that's a very good question, because Our Guest Service works with all 3 of our core systems, and I probably neglected to mention that. So it is fully PMS aware of all of our Agilysys property management systems. So LMS, Agilysys Stay, and also Visual One. Okay. So we will round out the demonstration by showing you a live portion of a popular function of Our Guest Service, which is a two-way text chat feature. So this two-way texting concept is not groundbreaking because that's obviously we live in a world of smartphones and texting. However, what our guest service will do is, or the key benefit is taking that text and then making it actionable based off of, again, the context of your operation and what you can offer to your guests. So let's go ahead and jump into that demonstration. And here's another screenshot of the dashboard, and we'll be going over this here right now. So let's go into the demonstration. Okay, so here we're looking at a representation of a guest smartphone. So the guest has received a text message from our guest service. In this scenario, this is an automatic text message, which means that when going back to your question about LMS, is that you're now able to program our guest service to send auto text messages based on events that happen in the PMS. And that event could be guests just checking in. So imagine yourself checking into a hotel, and some of you have already may have experienced something like this, and you receive a nice welcome text just saying, hey, we're really excited to have you here. And you can exchange a dialogue with us via text if there's anything that we can do for you, whether that be just informational or if it's service related. So far in this scenario, we've sent that automatic text to the guest, and the guest is responding back to ask for a rollaway. And the business is now taking that request and said, absolutely, we're going to respond back to the guest. But now we're going to fulfill that request using our guest service and with LMS or Agilysys Stay or Visual One. So here, as I go into our guest service, this is the task screen of our guest service that shows you all the outstanding tasks that have occurred throughout the day. I will jump over here to the guest dialogue screen or the chat screen, which is the focus of our demonstration. So as you can see from this internal point of view, I'm seeing that the guest that's requested or exchanged the text message with me is Mr. Joe Ferguson, and he's in room 315. So again, our guest service is PMS aware, and it also notes the status of the reservation as well. So it could have been Joe Ferguson from a reserve status that he hasn't checked in, but maybe he requested something with you while he was in reservation status, which again is going to be visible to the end user in this case. So because he asked for a rollaway with his response, we responded back that it's on its way. And I've also assigned that request to another user, Joe Ferguson. He's a popular guy. So Joe Ferguson now, from an operational standpoint, let's put on like housekeeping hat because they're probably the most common department that's going to deliver the rollaway. So housekeeping will have an end user client of or end user a form factor of our guest service, which is going to be the phone in this case. So Joe's just going to say, let's go ahead and get my task. So here is my task of delivering the rollaway to room 315. It also has a counter as I initially receive and acknowledge that task, because there's an SLA that's built in the back end to ensure that I'm delivering my task in a timely manner according to the standards of the operation. Not going into too much detail because there's a lot of functions that we can do here from an end user standpoint. I'm just going to say that that rollaway is now completed or delivered, and I've acknowledged that. And then our guest service is now giving me my next task at hand because, as you can see, there was quite a long list of tasks that still needed to be fulfilled. So as I go back to the standpoint of the operator, or maybe someone in PBX that's just really central hub, if you will, that's dispatching these tasks, you can see that the breadcrumb is also visible to me as I completed that task, that it's been completed. So I can confidently respond back to the guest, your rollaway, caps lock is on, your rollaway has been delivered. Is there anything else I can't spell we can do for you? So again, you want to acknowledge back to the guests, and these are just general, guest service 101 basics. And we're going to give it a little bit of time to catch up here. And so it's going to send a text back to the guest, and the guest can also respond back. And now you have a nice guest experience and dialogue between you and the guest. And this is also totally contactless. So this is also known as the virtual concierge, where by today's circumstances with the pandemic and us trying to get out of it, contactless is still on the top of everyone's mind. So you can see here that the guest has received this, and they can just reply back, "Thank you." And that completes the dialogue. And so that also ends our demonstration of our guest service and our overall presentation of operational efficiencies within our next-gen hospitality solutions here at Agilysys. We hope that you found these sessions to be very informational and also may have provoked some new ideas and thoughts. And again, if you like to go into a deeper dive in any of our applications that we discussed today, please contact your Agilysys sales rep, and we'll be happy to go over these solutions in more detail. Thor, I will give the floor back to you. Thor?
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Hopefully you found this enlightening. As I mentioned before, what Joe said, if there's any further questions you may have, please contact your representative, or you can also ask questions through our website. Look forward to seeing you on our next presentation, which will be starting shortly. Thank you and have a great day.